Why nothing should affect you. What if I told you that the real battle isn't out there, it's inside your mind? Every day we let small things break us. A single text can ruin our peace. A stranger's opinion can poison our confidence, and one mistake can spiral into self-hate. We scroll, we compare, we react. And somewhere along the way, we lose the quiet strength that once defined us. The truth is brutal. Most people are not living, they're merely reacting. Stoicism saw this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That line isn't philosophy, it's a weapon, because when you stop fighting what you can't control, you become untouchable. Today, we'll uncover 8 Stoic principles that will rewire your mind so that nothing and no one can disturb your peace again. This isn't motivation, it's mental armor. Comment below, "I am unshakable." And let's begin your training. 1. Embrace discomfort like a principle 1. Embrace discomfort like a friend. Why is it that we avoid everything that could make us stronger? The cold, the silence, the pain, the confrontation. We treat them as enemies to be eliminated instead of teachers to be studied. We seek warmth, validation, convenience, and yet every step toward comfort seems to strip away a piece of our resilience. We live in a time where a weak Wi-Fi signal feels like suffering, and the smallest inconvenience sends us spiraling. But the truth is harsh. Comfort has become the most silent poison of the modern world. It sedates your potential, softens your discipline, and makes you forget what you're capable of enduring. Seneca once wrote, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power." What he meant was that by stepping into hardship willingly, we strip fear of its teeth. The Stoics trained for difficulty not because they were masochists, but because they understood the formula of strength. The body and mind grow only through resistance. Marcus Aurelius faced war, plague, betrayal, and yet he ruled himself before he ruled an empire. His strength didn't come from privilege, it came from the acceptance of discomfort as a daily ally. Think about your own life. When was the last time you truly grew? It wasn't during the easy days when everything felt predictable and pleasant. It was when life pushed you to the edge, when you lost someone, when plans fell apart, when you had tourbilled from nothing. That's when your true character surfaced. Discomfort is the furnace of transformation. Every cold shower, every early morning, when you don't feel like moving, every difficult truth you speak instead of hiding. These are the moments that carve out who you really are. Modern society teaches you to chase pleasure and avoid pain at all costs. But Stoicism whispers the opposite. Train for hardship so that nothing external can command your emotions again. Every voluntary act of discomfort is a rehearsal for life's inevitable storms. When you walk into the cold by choice, you no longer fear the cold. When you choose discipline over ease, failure over comfort, you prove to yourself that you are the master, not the puppet. So start small. Take a cold shower and feel the shock without running from it. Sit in silence and resist the urge to grab your phone. Work out on the day your mind screams, "Not today." Walk into the conversation you've been avoiding, the truth you've been postponing. Each time you lean toward difficulty instead of retreating, you rewire your nervous system. You're teaching your mind that pain isn't danger, it's data. And here's the secret most people never understand. The man who can suffer willingly can never truly suffer again. Because he has turned pain into practice, he has befriended what others fear. Discomfort to him is no longer chaos. It's clarity. It's the sharpening stone for his will. Your action today, choose one small discomfort and embrace it fully. Don't hesitate. Don't negotiate. Just do it. Affirmation: discomfort is my training ground. 2. Control your emotions before they. Principle 2. Control your emotions before they control you. Control you. You can master every strategy, every skill, every rule of success. But if you don't master your emotions, you'll be a slave to them. The moment someone insults you, your peace collapses. The second a plan fails, frustration takes over. One small trigger and you become a puppet pulled by invisible strings. It's not life that defeats us. It's our own reactions to it. We often think emotions are commands we must obey, but they are only messengers. And like all messengers, they should be heard, not worripped. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." Those 13 words are the cornerstone of emotional freedom. Because when you realize that every external event passes through the filter of your own interpretation, you reclaim control. Noon can truly upset you without your permission. The insult, the rejection, the failure, they are neutral until your mind labels them as pain. But modern life teaches us the opposite. We're told to express everything, to react instantly, to post, reply, argue, prove. We confuse self-expression with self-mastery. Yet the Stoics understood reaction as weakness disguised as honesty. A strong person doesn't suppress emotion. They structure it. They pause, breathe, and choose their response. That pause, those few seconds between stimulus and reaction, is the birthplace of your power. Next time anger flares, don't rush to defend yourself. Watch it. Feel it rise. Label it quietly. This is anger. That's it. You just created distance between you and your emotion. The storm is still there, but you're no longer standing in the middle of it. You've stepped back to the shore, watching the waves crash, and from that place of awareness, you can act, not react. Imagine the difference in your day if you live that way. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you breathe instead of curse. A coworker criticizes you. You pause instead of retaliate. A loved one withdraws. You listen instead of spiral. Each time you do this, you strengthen your emotional discipline, and that discipline becomes peace. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayals, rumors, and wars. Yet he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That was not comfort. It was command. He understood that emotional chaos is self-inflicted when you try to control what's outside of you. The Stoic path doesn't ask you to be numb. It asks you to be sovereign. You still feel everything, but nothing owns you anymore. Start practicing the simplest ritual. Pause. Breathe. Question. Pause before reacting. Breathe before speaking. Question before assuming. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, it's not worth your peace. You can't stop emotions from coming, but you can stop them from controlling your life. And that's what Stoicism is truly about. Not becoming cold, but becoming composed. The man who can sit calmly in chaos is the most dangerous kind of man alive. Because while everyone else is burning, he's building. Your action today in one situation that frustrates you, try the 3-step ritual. Pause. Breathe. Question. Watch what happens. Affirmation. I respond. I don't react. 3. Stop expecting fairness. Principle 3. Stop expecting fairness. The world doesn't owe you fairness. That sentence might sting, but it's the truth that sets you free. Every time you expect life to play by your rules, you hand it the power to break you. We tell ourselves, I worked hard. I deserve this. Or, I was kind. They should be too. But the universe doesn't keep score the way we do. You can be honest and still be betrayed. You can be loyal and still be left behind. You can give your best and still lose. That's not injustice, it's reality. And once you stop demanding fairness, you stop suffering twice. We live in a culture obsessed with equality of outcome, not equality of effort. People believe that if they do everything right, life must reward them. But the Stoics taught the opposite. They said, do the right thing because it's right, not because it guarantees a result. Marcus Aurelius ruled through plagues, wars, and constant betrayal. Yet he never cursed his fate. He simply wrote, "You can commit injustice by doing nothing." His point was simple. The only injustice you can control is the one you commit. What others do is beyond your reach and therefore beneath your concern. When you expect fairness, you become emotionally fragile. Every disappointment feels like an attack. Every loss feels personal. But when you accept that life isn't fair, you become unbreakable, because now nothing surprises you. Everything trains you. Every rejection becomes a lesson in resilience. Every failure becomes a mirror reflecting your next step. You no longer waste energy asking why me. Instead, you ask, what now? Think of it like this. The rain doesn't fall evenly, but it falls for everyone. The Stoic doesn't stand there angry at the storm. He adjusts his sails. Life is not a courtroom. It's a battlefield. Fairness is not guaranteed, but discipline is always within reach. The man who accepts this truth gains power over every situation because he stops negotiating with reality. You've probably felt the pain of injustice, being passed over, misunderstood, or blamed for something you didn't do. But remember, even Seneca was exiled by the emperor he served faithfully. Even Socrates was sentenced to death for speaking truth. If those who mastered wisdom couldn't escape unfairness, what makes you think you will? Stoicism isn't about making life fair. It's about making yourself strong enough to face it when it's not. So how do you apply this? Every time you feel wronged, pause and remind yourself this is not personal. It's the nature of things. Then redirect that energy toward your discipline. Channel your pain into practice. If the world doesn't give you what's fair, give yourself what's within your control, effort, integrity, and clarity. The moment you stop demanding life to be fair, you start living with power because fairness is external, but dignity is internal. The Stoic chooses to act with justice, not to be treated justly. That's the difference between a victim and a warrior. Your action today, when something feels unfair, say this to yourself. It wasn't supposed to be fair. It was supposed to make me stronger. Affirmation. Fairness is not promised. Discipline is for. Focus only on what you can control. How much of your life is wasted trying to control what was never yours to begin with? You worry about what people think, what they'll say, how they'll respond. You plan every outcome, every scenario, as if the universe follows your schedule. And when things don't go your way, you panic, you spiral, you lose peace. The truth is, most of what keeps you up at night lies completely outside your control. Epictetus, a man born a slave, became one of the greatest philosophers in history because he mastered one rule that most free men never learn. He said, some things are up to us and some are not, that's it. The entire map of freedom in one line. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control. Everything you think, feel, or do, that's within your domain. Everything else, other people, outcomes, the weather, the past, the future, is not. The moment you forget that boundary, you suffer. You can't control what others say, but you can control what you repeat to yourself. You can't control how long you live, but you can control how you live. You can't control if someone loves you, but you can control if you love with integrity. Freedom begins the moment you stop trying to rewrite what's already written. Most people are exhausted not because life is hard, but because they fight battles they were never meant to fight. They argue with reality. They try to change people who don't want to change. They chase outcomes they can't force. The Stoic doesn't waste time that way. He asks one simple question. Is this within my control? If the answer is no, he lets it go. Not because he's weak, but because his energy is sacred. Imagine your peace as a fortress. Every time you stress about what's outside your control, you open the gate and invite chaos in. But when you keep your focus on what's yours, your thoughts, your actions, your character, you become untouchable. The world may shake, but you stay centered. You stop being a leaf blown by the wind and become the root that anchors the tree. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire surrounded by enemies. Yet he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Even as storms raged around him, his calm was unshaken because he understood the game. The external world is noise. The internal world is command. You can lose everything but still be undefeated. If your mind remains under your control, start today with a simple ritual. Take a piece of paper and draw 2 circles. In the first, write everything you can control, your effort, your words, your attitude. In the second, everything you can't, other people's opinions, luck, time. Then every time you feel anxious, look at that paper. Remind yourself, my peace belongs inside the first circle. Let go of the illusion of control. It was never freedom. It was a cage. The Stoic warrior doesn't waste arrows on the wind. He aims only at what he can hit. That's why he never runs out of strength. Your action today, draw your 2 circles. When the storm comes, choose to stand in the one that belongs to you. Affirmation. I control my actions, not the world, and that's enough. 5. Practice voluntary hardship. What if the comfort you cling to is the very thing destroying your strength? We build our lives to avoid pain, but in doing so, we forget how to endure it. We have heated homes, instant meals, soft chairs, and yet fragile minds. We've confused comfort with safety. But comfort has never made anyone safe. It only makes you dependent. The Stoics knew this long before modern psychology proved it. The human spirit decays without resistance. Seneca once wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare, and with coarse and rough clothing, and ask yourself, is this the condition I feared?" This was not poverty. It was training. He called it voluntary hardship, a way to rehearse misfortune before misfortune arrived. Because when you have practiced living with less, the loss of luxury no longer terrifies you. When you've chosen discomfort on your own terms, you become immune to the discomfort forced upon you. Modern life has done the opposite. We seek pleasure at every turn, scrolling, snacking, streaming, soothing. We anesthetize our anxiety instead of strengthening against it. We fear boredom. We fear silence. We fear hunger. We fear being alone, but those fears are signals. They're calling you to train. The Stoic doesn't wait for hardship to arrive. He walks into it deliberately, like a soldier sharpening his sword before the war begins. Imagine what would happen if for 1 week you chose the harder path on purpose. You wake up earlier than you want to. You take a cold shower and feel the sting without running from it. You skip the unnecessary meal. You walk instead of drive. You face that conversation you've been avoiding. Each small act rewires your brain to stop interpreting struggle as danger. The modern mind collapses under stress because it's never been trained to carry weight. But the disciplined mind thrives in challenge. Marcus Aurelius ruled over an empire, but trained his spirit daily through restraint. He ate simply, dressed plainly, and practiced humility as a form of strength. He didn't need luxury to feel powerful because real power comes from self-command. When you can endure voluntarily, you no longer fear involuntary pain. This practice isn't about punishment. It's about preparation. Life will take things from you. Health, people, money, comfort. But if you practice letting go, you won't collapse. You'll adapt. You'll breathe. You'll keep moving because hardship no longer surprises you. It's just another rep in your mental gym. So here's your challenge. Pick 2 small hardships this week. Maybe it's a cold shower. Maybe it's skipping sugar. Maybe it's waking up an hour earlier. Whatever it is, do it without complaining. Let your discomfort remind you that you're alive, that you're capable, that you're training for something greater. Because the truth is simple. Comfort doesn't make you strong. Challenge does. Every time you choose the hard road when the easy one is right there, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. Your action today: choose one discomfort and face it by choice, not by chance. Affirmation: I train in peace to stand unbroken in chaos. 6. Detach from outcomes. Love the process. Everywhere you look, people are addicted to results. They measure self-worth by likes, numbers, money, and praise. When they win, they feel alive. When they lose, they collapse. We've turned life into a scoreboard, and in doing so, we've forgotten how to play the game. The Stoics saw this trap clearly. When your peace depends on results, you've already surrendered control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to with the same reason you use today." That single sentence reveals the cure to modern anxiety, because every time you obsess about outcomes, you're abandoning the present, the only arena where power actually exists. You don't control the reward. You only control the work. You don't own the harvest. You only own the planting. The Stoic mind understands this. Success is a byproduct, not a pursuit. Think about how often you poison your own progress by expecting it to look a certain way. You start a project and demand instant results. You go to the gym and judge yourself after 1 week. You open your heart and expect others to reciprocate. And when they don't, you suffer, not because you failed, but principle 4. Focus only on what you can control because you attached your peace to something outside your control. You confuse effort with entitlement. But the Stoic doesn't play that game. He acts with discipline and detaches from results because his fulfillment comes from the act itself. When you detach, something incredible happens. Your focus sharpens. You stop worrying about how things should go and pour all your energy into doing them well. You shift from performance to presence. That shift alone makes you more effective, because now you're playing to your highest potential, not to your fear of failure. Seneca said, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he is not." Detachment is not apathy. It's mastery. It means you care deeply about the process, but not about the applause. Let's make this real. You can't control whether your business takes off, but you can control your effort and integrity every single day. You can't control how fast your body changes, but you can control showing up to train. You can't control if others appreciate your honesty, but you can control speaking truth anyway. The outcome belongs to fate. The process belongs to you. Here's a small practice. At the start of every day, write one sentence. Today I'll focus only on what I can do, not what I want to happen. Then whatever you're working on, do it like it's sacred because it is. The process is where virtue lives, where character grows, and where peace hides. Detach not to care less, but to act better. Love the process not because it guarantees success, but because it makes you unshakable even in failure. The Stoic doesn't chase the finish line. He masters every step. Your action today, write down one goal, then underneath it, write. The result is not mine. The effort is affirmation. I am proud of effort, not outcome. 7. Remember death. Live urgently. Principle 7. Remember death. Live urgently. Most people live as if they'll live forever. They postpone their dreams, delay forgiveness, and waste years preparing to begin. But the clock doesn't wait. Every day that passes is one you'll never get back. The Stoics had a phrase for this. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. At first it sounds dark, but in truth it's the most powerful reminder to live. Seneca wrote, "It's not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it." He wasn't warning us about death, he was warning us about distraction. We drown in trivial things, scrolling, gossiping, worrying about what others think, while the moments that could make us alive quietly slip away. When you realize that every breath brings you closer to your final one, suddenly clarity cuts through the noise. What truly matters reveals itself. The Stoic doesn't fear death because he's too busy living deliberately. He sees each sunrise as a gift already paid for. Each conversation as possibly the last, each act of kindness as something sacred. When you remember death, you stop postponing your humanity. You stop waiting for someday because you understand that someday is not a date. It's a myth. Think about how often we say, "I'll start when things calm down," or "I'll apologize when the time feels right," or "I'll chase my dream when I'm ready." But you will never feel ready. The perfect moment never arrives. Life is not a rehearsal. It's the main act. Every delay is a small betrayal of the time you've been given. The Stoic chooses to live with urgency, not panic. Urgency doesn't mean rushing. It means being awake. It means understanding that every minute wasted on fear or resentment is a minute stolen from purpose. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire amid chaos, reminded himself daily, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." For him, mortality was not a threat. It was a compass. It pointed him back to what mattered: virtue, service, and presence. So, what would you do differently if you truly believed today might be your last? Who would you forgive? What truth would you finally speak? What work would you stop postponing? These questions are not meant to scare you. They're meant to wake you. Death doesn't make life meaningless. It makes it precious. Try this tonight. Before you go to bed, write down 3 things you would regret not doing if tomorrow never came. Then pick one and do it this week. Don't wait for inspiration, permission, or perfection, just act. Because the only guarantee you have is that time is passing and you are still here to use it. To remember death is to live fully, to look it in the eye and still create, still love, still serve. That is true courage. The Stoic doesn't chase immortality through fame or wealth. He earns it through how intensely he lives while he's alive. Your action today. Write 3 things you would regret leaving undone and do now. Affirmation. I live like time is borrowed because at Principle 8, live by virtue, not validation is 8, live by virtue, not validation. At the end of your life, noon's applause will save you. The likes, the praise, the admiration, they'll fade faster than you think. What remains is who you chose to be when no one was watching, yet most people spend their entire existence performing for approval, chasing recognition like oxygen, terrified of being unseen. But the Stoic knows the goal is not to be admired. It's to be aligned. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." That's it. The ancient emperor, surrounded by politics and flattery, chose virtue over validation. He understood that external praise is unreliable currency. It can vanish overnight. Virtue, on the other hand, is wealth the soul never loses. The modern world reverses this logic. We post to prove. We talk to be heard. We live to be seen. We seek identity through the eyes of strangers and wonder why we always feel hollow. Here's the truth. When your worth depends on validation, you become a prisoner of perception. You live cautiously, always adjusting your behavior to fit expectations. You become polite instead of honest, liked instead of respected, visible but empty. The Stoic refuses that trade. Hex with integrity whether or not anyone notices, because virtue is not performance. It's principle. It's the discipline of doing what's right even when it costs you something, especially when it costs you something. Think about it. Speaking the truth when lying would make you popular, showing kindness when it gains you nothing, keeping your word when no one will find out if you don't. Those small moments define your soul far more than any achievement ever will. You don't need to announce your values to live them. Quiet strength has more gravity than loud approval. Seneca said, "A good character when observed delights, but when unseen it still rejoices." Virtue is its own reward. When you live aligned with your principles, you sleep peacefully. You walk lighter. You stop negotiating with your conscience. The world may misunderstand you, mock you, even oppose you, but their judgment no longer touches you because you're not performing for them anymore. You're serving something higher, your own standard. This is the heart of Stoicism. To choose righteousness over recognition, consistency over applause, character over comfort. Every decision is an opportunity to prove your values not to others but to yourself. And when you no longer need the world's validation, the world loses its power over you. Try this practice. Choose one core value: honesty, courage, kindness, discipline, and live it quietly for one day. Don't post about it. Don't mention it. Just live it. See how it changes the way you walk, speak, and think. That's virtue in motion. At the end of the day, the applause will fade, but the echo of your integrity will remain. And that echo will outlast every compliment you've ever received. Your action today: choose one value and live it fully for 24 hours without telling anyone. Affirmation: I act from virtue, not for applause. Conclusion: becoming mentally unshakable, you've just walked through 8 timeless Stoic principles. 8 ways to reclaim power in a world that constantly tries to take it from you. These truths aren't meant to make life easier. They're meant to make you stronger. Discomfort, control, acceptance, focus, discipline, detachment, urgency, virtue. Together they form your mental armor, one that no chaos, no betrayal, no storm can pierce. Because the goal is not to escape the pain of life, but to endure it with grace. The Stoics never promised comfort. They promised clarity, and once you see that nothing external can break the fortress within you, you become something rare, a human being at peace in the middle of the storm. If these principles spoke to you, like, share, and comment your favorite one below. Let others join this training and whisper this to yourself before you leave. Thank you for watching the Stoic Tide.